My name is Naomi. I'm 32 years old, a marketing executive at one of the top luxury beauty brands in Manhattan, and for 7 years, I've been living a love story that was never mine to keep. I write slogans that sell lipsticks like dreams and perfumes like promises. I know how to spin fantasy, how to make people believe. And I guess it's only fitting that I became the product of my own delusion, because while I was branding desire for a living, I didn't realize I was the side chick in my own life. You want to know how it started? A whisper. That's how it always begins. A whisper of doubt you shove aside, then another, until it becomes a scream. It was a Wednesday night, mid-February. Cold, slushy, with that New York kind of wet that seeps into your bones no matter how many designer coats you layer on. Chris was in the shower. I was half-dressed, wearing one of his hoodies, curled on the edge of his bed with a glass of Merlot. We had just come back from dinner, our monthly ritual at this quiet French place in Soho. He ordered the duck. I had the sea bass. We shared dessert, like always. He kissed my hand and told me I was his forever. And I believed him. God, I believed him. I was looking for my lip balm in his closet. Just a lip balm. His bedroom was ours on most weekends, though he never officially said I lived there. Still, I had drawers. Hangers. Half my life was tangled in that man's space. I reached into the little wooden box where he kept loose change, receipts, and random junk. That's when I felt it. The box was too heavy. Off balance. I lifted it, and there was a false bottom. A velvet ring box sat beneath it. My heart didn't stop. It raced. Because for half a second, one godforsaken, stupid second, I thought, this is it. He's going to propose. After all these years, he's finally going to make it real. I opened it. A 3-stone diamond ring. Platinum band. Tasteful. Elegant. Exactly the kind of style Chris always said he hated. But it wasn't the design that killed me. It wasn't the size or the box or the fact that I'd never seen it before. It was the engraving. To Amanda. Forever starts now. If you are amazed by what you just heard, don't keep it to yourself. Drop a comment letting me know where you're watching from. Your thoughts matter. And if you want to stay in the loop for what's coming next, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. As I tell you what happened next. Amanda? Amanda. Amanda. It echoed in my skull like a bomb going off in slow motion. That wasn't my name. It wasn't a pet name. It wasn't a brand. It was someone else. Someone he loved enough to promise forever. That's when I noticed the phone screen buzzing on the dresser. Amanda ring. Can't wait to marry you next month, babe.
Babe.
Next month. He was marrying her. In less than 30 days. And I was just the layover. The room spun. I dropped the ring. My throat clenched, dry and burning. 7 years. Birthdays. Anniversaries. Trips. Family dinners. I met his mother. She called me sweet girl. His sister and I got matching manicures last Christmas. I thought we were real. I thought I was the one. Turns out I was just convenient. The shower stopped. Footsteps padded out. I barely had time to compose myself. I shoved the ring back, closed the closet, curled into bed like nothing was wrong. He walked in with a towel around his waist, rubbing his hair dry. Hey, babe, he said, kissing my forehead. You good? I looked him in the eye and smiled. Perfect. Because here's the thing. Heartbreak makes some women cry. It makes others beg. But for me, it lit something else. A slow-burning, ice-cold clarity. The next morning, I told him I had an early meeting. He kissed me like everything was normal, like I wasn't breaking, bleeding inside. I walked out of his apartment, heels clicking against the marble hallway, and I didn't cry. I called my best friend, Brielle, who I'd known since college. She'd always been suspicious of Chris, said something didn't feel right. I told her to trust me, that he was just busy, that love looks different sometimes. Now I was the fool with a fairy tale turned horror story. I found a ring. I whispered into the phone. It's not for me. Bree's gasp was sharp. Naomi. Oh my God. Her name's Amanda. They're getting married next month. Are you sure? I almost laughed. The message said, can't wait to marry you. Yeah. I'm sure. There was silence. Then she said something I didn't expect. You don't need to walk away yet.
What?
Don't just cry. Don't just leave. Play him. Make him regret everything. I didn't say anything, but the seed was planted. That afternoon, I met Damien Sharp. It was supposed to be a client pitch. His firm, Sharp Holdings, was sniffing around our company for a potential brand partnership. Word was, Damien didn't play nice. He was ruthless, cold, rich beyond belief. The kind of man who destroyed people for sport. He walked into our boardroom in a dark tailored suit, no tie, sharp jawline, steel blue eyes that felt like X-rays. Everyone else stood when he entered. I didn't. He noticed. Naomi Carter, he said, reading my name tag. I've heard about you. Good things, I hope. He smirked. We'll see. The meeting was fast. Brutal. He cut through our projections like a surgeon. But afterward, he lingered. Waited until everyone left. And then he said, Chris Sterling's your boyfriend, isn't he? I froze. Excuse me? I said, Chris Sterling, Vice President of Tech Development at Polaris Holdings. He's yours? I blinked. How do you know that? He leaned in, voice low, laced with something dangerous. Because I've been watching him. And I know he's engaged to Amanda Crane, daughter of one of Polaris's board members. My skin went cold. Damien continued. Amanda thinks she's the only one.
But I've seen the receipts.
Hotel bookings. Credit card charges.
Jewelry.
He's been running 2 lives for years. I swallowed. Why do you care? His eyes narrowed. Because I'm about to take everything from him. And I figured you might want to help. I should have walked away.
Should have said no.
But pain makes you crave power. And Damien Sharp? He offered me power. The next day, I met him in a private lounge uptown. He slid a folder toward me, photocopies, screenshots, surveillance. Chris and Amanda in the Hamptons. Chris and me in a different hotel that same weekend. Why are you showing me this?
I asked.
Because men like him think they're untouchable. I want to make sure he learns he's not. And me? Damien smiled, slow and dark. You're not a victim, Naomi. You're my leverage. I stared at the photos. At the life I thought I had. At the lies I'd swallowed like honey. I could feel my heart turning to ash. What do you want me to do? I whispered. He leaned forward, voice like a blade. Stay with him.
Play sweet.
Get close. And when the time is right, we burn him to the ground. That night, I went back to Chris. He wrapped his arms around me, told me I was his peace, his world. I smiled into his chest and whispered, I love you. And inside, I pictured the ring box. Inside, I pictured Damien's smile. Inside, I whispered, this is war. I used to believe heartbreak was the worst kind of pain. But then I met Damien Sharp, and I realized pain was just the beginning. Heartbreak strips you bare. But revenge? Revenge lets you put on new skin, stronger, sharper, crueler. Let me tell you what happens when you stop crying and start planning. Damien didn't waste time. The second I agreed to help him, the power dynamic between us shifted. He wasn't just the corporate killer I'd met in a boardroom anymore. He became my co-conspirator. My partner in something darker. Something addictive. He called it the restoration. I'm not just destroying Chris, Damien said during our first real meeting. I'm restoring the balance. Men like him thrive on imbalance, on chaos they control. We're here to flip that. It sounded like something out of a movie, but the glint in Damien's eyes told me he was dead serious. He had files.
Plans.
Timelines. He'd already been watching Chris for 6 months, tracking his every lie, every transaction, every moment of betrayal. Why him? I asked one night, as we sat across from each other at a rooftop bar in Midtown, overlooking the city's electric pulse. Damien took a sip of his whiskey and smiled. But it wasn't a warm smile. It was surgical. Because your boyfriend, he said, isn't just a cheating bastard. He's also a thief. I raised an eyebrow. He stole money? He stole leverage. Amanda's father is the chairman of Polaris Holdings. Chris manipulated his way into that family by selling promises he can't keep. Promises built on insider knowledge. He leaked information to competitors, then turned around and sold solutions to clean it up. He's a walking time bomb. And now, with a wedding on the horizon, he's about to consolidate everything he's built through that connection. And you want to stop it? No, Damien said. I want to hijack it. The next few weeks were a blur of lies and sharp stilettos. By day, I kept showing up at Chris's side. Dinners, weekend trips, even brunch with his family, where his mother gave me that familiar, clueless smile and called me his rock. I wanted to throw my mimosa in her face. By night, I met Damien in private spaces, his penthouse, sleek conference rooms, luxury hotel lounges, and once, at a silent art auction where he whispered instructions into my ear like a lover. We weren't sleeping together.
Not yet.
But the air between us vibrated with something undeniable. Something feral. He never touched me. Not in public. Not in private. But every time his hand brushed mine over a file folder or he leaned in just a little too close, I felt it. And I hated that I liked it. Because if Chris broke my heart, Damien was rebuilding it into something twisted. You're not his side chick, Damien growled one night as I paced the length of his office. He made me feel like nothing. He made a mistake. Damien stood, moving toward me. But not because he cheated. Then why? Because he underestimated you. His voice dropped. And that's something I will never do. I turned to face him.
You want to use me?
Just admit it. Of course I do, he said. But I also want you to want it. There it was. Not romance. Not softness.
Power.
And I wanted it too. Phase 1 of Damien's plan was simple. Stay in place. Observe. Feed him data. Build a profile. I started small. Passwords. Patterns. Where Chris kept his important documents. Who he called when he was stressed. What he searched on his laptop late at night. One night, while he was asleep, I unlocked his phone using his thumbprint and took screenshots of his emails with Amanda. He told her everything. How I was clingy, needy, emotionally unstable. How I wouldn't leave. How he was handling it. The words sliced through me like knives. Then I found the kicker. A forwarded email chain between him and Amanda's father, discussing a confidential merger. He wasn't just a liar. He was committing fraud. I sent it all to Damien. His reply came in 3 words. Good girl, Naomi. Why did that set my body on fire? But something changed during week 3. It was late, nearly midnight, when Damien texted. Come to the penthouse.
Now.
No explanation. Just the command. I was still wearing my silk robe, hair tied up, no makeup. But something inside me responded. I called a car and went. When I arrived, the door was already open. He stood by the window, jacket off, shirt sleeves rolled to his forearms, glass of bourbon in hand. I have something to show you, he said. What is it? He turned to face me. Amanda. My spine stiffened. You got to her? Not directly.
Not yet.
But I figured you'd want to see what kind of woman he's willing to burn it all down for. He clicked the remote. The projector lit up. Photos filled the screen. Amanda in her office. Amanda shopping with her mother. Amanda at a bridal boutique, smiling, holding a lace-covered gown to her body. She looked like the poster child for Pinterest weddings.
Blonde. Polished.
Teeth too white. Laugh too perfect. She's beautiful, I said. She's boring, Damien corrected. She believes in fairy tales. You don't. I turned to him. And you think that's a compliment?
No.
I think it's the truth. Silence stretched between us. And then I said it. I want to meet her. He didn't flinch.
Why?
I want to see what kind of lie I was living. I want to look her in the eye and know she has no idea who I am. Damien stepped closer. His voice dropped into that husky growl I was starting to crave. And then what? Then I figure out how to destroy him from both sides. He stared at me for a long moment, then nodded. I can arrange that. The next day, I walked into Amanda Crane's yoga studio. She taught Tuesdays and Thursdays. It was her passion project, according to the internet, where her Instagram had 40K followers and a whole aesthetic built around wellness, green smoothies, and inspirational quotes. I wore a disguise, different hair, no lashes, colored contacts. She didn't recognize me. She greeted me at the door with a warm smile. First class.
Yeah.
Welcome in, love. You're going to feel amazing. I smiled back. I'm sure I will. She moved with ease and lightness, guiding the class like she didn't have a care in the world. Her voice was calming. Her eyes sparkled. She had no idea that the man she was marrying had spent the previous night in bed with me. When the class ended, she came over with a towel and water. You did great, she said. I'm Naomi, I offered.
She paused.
The name didn't register. Nice to meet you. And that's when it hit me. I didn't exist to her, not even as a footnote. I walked out of that class feeling nothing. No rage. No sadness. Just certainty. Amanda wasn't the villain.
Chris was. And now?
He was surrounded. Me on one side, Damien on the other. And neither of us was backing down. Later that night, I told Damien everything. How did it feel? He asked. I curled my legs under me on his couch. Like I was watching someone's dream from the outside. Like she was asleep and I was wide awake. He sat beside me, slow and close. And you? Are you dreaming, Naomi? I turned to him.
No.
I'm hunting. Damien's smile was razor sharp. And then, for the first time, he touched me. His fingers brushed my thigh.
Light. Testing.
I didn't stop him. Do you want this? He asked.
It wasn't romantic.
It was an invitation to surrender to something darker. Something wrong. Yes, I whispered. Because pain isn't the opposite of love. Obsession is. And I was already halfway gone. I'm sleeping beside a man who thinks I'm his future, while plotting his downfall with the one man who wants to ruin him more than I do. I used to believe in loyalty.
Now?
I believe in leverage. I don't know when I became this version of myself. But I do know the exact moment I stopped being a woman in love and became a woman with a plan. It was the morning after Damien kissed me. Correction. After I let him kiss me back. The kiss was nothing like Chris's. Chris kissed like a boyfriend. Habitually, smoothly, rehearsed like a line he'd memorized too many times. There was affection, sure. Even tenderness. But it was always missing something.
Risk.
Damien kissed like a loaded gun. Slow, controlled, and deadly. He didn't rush it. He didn't grab. He claimed. When his mouth pressed against mine, it wasn't asking for permission, it was marking territory. When we finally pulled away, his voice was low. Still think I'm just using you? I could barely breathe. No, I whispered. I think I'm using you too. He smirked. Good girl. God help me, I liked that. The next stage of the plan was simple. Maintain the illusion. I returned to Chris's apartment that weekend with fresh nails, a cleaned conscience, and a secret worth a million lies. I cooked his favorite meal. We watched the latest Netflix series. I laughed when he made dumb jokes and let him stroke my thigh like nothing had changed. He had no idea I'd spent the previous night half-naked in Damien's bed, whispering strategy between kisses. I was playing both sides now. Chris thought he had me wrapped around his finger, but he didn't know I was wrapping the rope tighter around his neck. You're dangerous when you smile like that, Chris said over dinner, rubbing my knee under the table. I'm just happy, I lied. He leaned in and kissed my cheek. I love you, Naomi. I wanted to shove the wine glass down his throat, but I smiled instead. I love you too. I started leaving little clues for Damien to track Chris's movements. Private meetings. Random drives to work events. Texts he left open. I documented everything. The names. The numbers. The lies. I took photos of the USB drives in his briefcase, the handwritten notes he scribbled at 2 a.m. when he thought I was asleep. One night, Chris fell asleep with his laptop open on the couch. I waited 10 minutes, then tiptoed over, copied an entire folder labeled Paul's Merger onto a flash drive, and slipped it into my purse. I emailed it to Damien with the subject line, "Enjoy." His reply came 10 minutes later. You're brilliant. I want to see you.
Now.
This time, Damien didn't wait for words. He pulled me into his penthouse the second I stepped through the door, slammed it shut, and pinned me against it. This is war, he whispered, mouth brushing my neck. And you're the most beautiful weapon I've ever seen. I gasped. You like seeing me play both sides? No, he growled. I love it. We didn't make love. We ruined silence. I screamed his name while thinking of Chris. I moaned into Damien's mouth while picturing the day I destroy them both. Because sex with Damien wasn't about affection. It was about fire. And I wanted to burn. The next day, I met with Brielle in a wine bar downtown. She was the only one I could trust. Her eyes widened when I told her everything. The double life, the fiancé, Damien, the plan. Naomi, she whispered. You're dancing with the devil. I know, I said. And you're okay with that? I sipped my Pinot. I'm better than okay. I'm awake. Bree shook her head. Just promise me something.
What?
That when the fire catches up to you, you don't pretend you didn't strike the match. I gave her a half smile. I won't have to pretend. Chris started changing. He could feel something was off. He'd become more affectionate, more paranoid. He asked more questions. Wanted to know where I was, who I was with. I gave him answers laced with just enough truth to feel like lies he couldn't prove. Then, on a random Tuesday night, he came home early. I was on the phone with Damien. I wasn't expecting Chris until 10. He walked in at 8:13 p.m. I froze. Damien's voice still in my ear. Naomi, we have to hit his crypto holdings next. Chris narrowed his eyes. Who's that? I smiled, heart hammering in my chest. Work call. He stepped closer. Sounded like a man. My creative director. Put him on speaker. I didn't flinch. He just hung up. Chris looked at me like he was trying to solve a puzzle that refused to give up its edges. I leaned over and kissed him. You're being paranoid. He grunted. Maybe. You've just been different lately. I smiled sweetly and stroked his cheek. Well, babe, maybe that's because I'm finally sure about you.
He melted. Idiot.
Later that night, I texted Damien. Close call. He's getting suspicious. His reply was immediate. Then we pushed the timeline up. Tomorrow, we hit his fiancée. That was when everything changed. Because up until now, Amanda had been the passive part of this equation. But that was about to end. The plan, I'd create a fake Instagram account. One Amanda would believe was real. I'd use it to drop breadcrumbs, photos, messages, whispers. The first DM was simple. You should really ask Chris where he was the night of your bridal fitting. She didn't reply. The second one had a photo attached. Me and Chris. From behind. His hand in my back pocket. Timestamped the same day, she posted a picture of her in a wedding dress, captioned, "Can't wait to say yes to the dress." This time, she replied. Who are you? I didn't answer. I sent another message. A video clip, Chris asleep in bed. My fingers stroking his hair. My voice in the background whispering, he sleeps like a baby after he lies. She read it. Didn't reply. But I knew what was coming. The storm had been activated. That night, Chris showed up at my door. But he wasn't smiling. His shirt was wrinkled. Lips split. One side of his face bruised. He looked like a man who'd just walked through hell. I opened the door, feigning surprise. Chris? What happened to you? She knows, he breathed. My heart pounded. Who? Amanda, he choked. She knows everything. Someone sent her photos. Videos. I don't know how the hell she got them. I stepped aside. He stumbled in. His hands were shaking. I had to bite my tongue to keep from laughing. She threw the ring at me, he whispered. Called me a monster. Said I ruined her life. He sank to the floor, like a broken man. And in that moment, I felt nothing. No pity. No sympathy. Just power. I knelt beside him, pretending to comfort him. You'll get through this, I whispered. He turned to me, eyes bloodshot. Will you stay with me? I kissed his forehead and smiled. Of course, baby. Always. And in my head, I was already texting Damien. I just watched the man who lied to me for 7 years collapse in my living room, crying over the loss of the woman he actually planned to marry. And me? I handed him a glass of water, stroked his hair, and whispered, "I'm here for you. Because this isn't love anymore. It's chess. And I'm 3 moves from checkmate." After Chris's meltdown, things changed. The power shift was seismic. He started calling me more often, texting, leaving voicemails like a man desperate to anchor himself to something. To someone. He called me his rock. The irony made me nauseous. I didn't let it show. I kept showing up, making soup, holding his hand, kissing his cheek, and feeding every word back to Damien. "You're playing this brilliantly," Damien said over bourbon at his penthouse 2 nights later. I sat on the couch in one of his silk robes, mine now unofficially, and crossed my legs slowly. "He's spiraling. I don't think he slept." "Good," Damien said coldly. "Let him drown in it." I sipped my drink. "I want to go deeper." He raised an eyebrow. "Meaning?" "I want to get closer to Amanda." He studied me for a long second. "Why?" "Because if we really want to ruin him, we don't just hurt his reputation. We destroy everything he thought was safe. And right now, she's the only part of his life he can't control." Damien's smirk was slow and lethal. "You're a natural." It wasn't hard to find Amanda again. I signed up for another yoga class at her studio. Wore a different wig this time. Long, straight, jet black. Different makeup. Different name.
She didn't recognize me.
After class, I lingered while the others left. "You're really good at this," I said as I wiped my fake sweat. She smiled, modest. "Thanks. It keeps me sane." "You teach full-time?"
No, just part-time.
I do nonprofit work mostly. Fundraising for domestic violence shelters. "Of course." "Perfect. Philanthropic. Pinterest Amanda." I feigned admiration. "That's amazing." She shrugged, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "Trying to do some good, you know?" I nodded, then let my voice drop slightly, like I was confiding something I shouldn't. "You okay, though? You seem tired." Her smile faltered. "It's been a rough week." "What happened?" She looked at me for a long second. I could tell she was debating whether to open up. Something about my disguise must have worked. I didn't look like someone from her world. Just a curious stranger. Harmless. "My fiancé," she said finally, voice barely above a whisper. "I think he's cheating." I tilted my head. "Why would you think that?" "Someone sent me photos, videos, messages. I don't even know who they are." My heart slammed against my ribs. "Are you sure they're real?" "They look real. But I don't know anymore." She looked like she wanted to cry. Like the fantasy she'd built was rotting in her hands, and she didn't know what to do with the pieces. I put a hand on her arm. "I'm so sorry." She nodded, lips trembling. "It's the betrayal that hurts the most. Not even the cheating. Just the fact that he lied. For years." I gave her the softest, most sympathetic smile I could muster. "I hope you make him regret it." She laughed bitterly. "Oh, I will." I reported every detail to Damien. "She's almost ready," I said. "She doesn't trust him anymore. But she doesn't trust the truth either." "That's where we come in," he replied. "We give her something she can't ignore." The next day, Damien sent her a package. No return address. Just a simple white envelope inside a black box. Inside it, a flash drive and a note. "Ask him about the night of your birthday. Then press play. You deserve the truth."
And
the footage was brutal. It showed Chris with me at the resort he claimed he couldn't attend due to a company retreat.
me in lingerie.
Him moaning my name.
Clear.
Unmistakable. I hadn't known Damien had recorded that. He had cameras in places I never noticed. I didn't know whether to be terrified or turned on. 2 days later, Amanda showed up at Chris's apartment. He wasn't expecting her. I watched from across the street, hidden behind tinted windows in Damien's matte black Escalade, as she stormed up the steps with fire in her eyes. Damien sat beside me, calm, sipping black coffee. "You think she'll slap him?" I asked.
No, he said.
She'll cut deeper than that. 15 minutes later, she stormed back out, mascara running, phone clutched in a death grip. She got into her silver Range Rover and peeled off. Damien smirked. And now the cracks become fractures. Chris called me that night, drunk and slurring. I think I lost her, Naomi. I played dumb.
Who?
Amanda. She said she saw a video. Said she knows. I bit my lip to keep from laughing. Do you know how she got it? No, he sobbed. But someone's trying to ruin me. That would be me, I wanted to say. And I'm doing a damn good job. I kept my voice soft. I'm so sorry, baby. She said she's pregnant. That stopped me cold. What? She's pregnant, he repeated, swallowing hard. I didn't know. I stood frozen, my blood icing over. Amanda was pregnant? This wasn't part of the plan. Damien didn't know either. I texted him immediately. She's pregnant. He didn't know. New variable. His reply came 5 seconds later. We need to accelerate. We strike this week. The next 72 hours were chaos. Amanda shut down her social media. Chris stopped showing up to work. Damien pulled me in for meeting after meeting, planning the next stage. And me? I was unraveling. Not because I cared about Chris. Not anymore. But because a child changes things. The stakes become higher. The fallout becomes nuclear. This wasn't supposed to get this messy, I muttered during one of our strategy sessions in Damien's office. It was always going to get messy, Damien replied coldly. A baby changes it. He looked at me, eyes steely. Are you losing your edge? No, I snapped. I'm sharpening it. He stood, walked over, and cupped my face in his hands. Then remember who you are, he whispered. You're not the side chick anymore, Naomi. You're the storm. The next morning, I received a text from Amanda.
Naomi,
we need to talk. I froze. How did she know it was me? My burner account was airtight. I called Damien in a panic. She knows, I said. She used my real name. He didn't react. Let her. What? Meet her. See what she wants. If she's reaching out, it means she's ready to choose sides. I met Amanda at a quiet cafe in Brooklyn. Midday, no crowd, no noise. She looked tired.
Pale.
But more focused than before.
She didn't waste time.
You're the woman in the video, she said, voice flat. I nodded. Yes. You've been with him this whole time? 7 years. She stared at me, jaw tight. Why didn't you tell me? Would you have believed me? Silence. Then she said, I'm pregnant. I know. Another pause. She looked at me with something I didn't expect. Not hatred. Understanding. I thought I was the only one, she whispered. I thought the same thing. We sat in silence for a while. Then Amanda leaned forward. Tell me the truth. Are you trying to ruin him? I looked her dead in the eyes. Yes. She exhaled. Good. I blinked. Excuse me? I want in. I was his side chick for 7 years. Now I'm planning his downfall with his pregnant fiancée. This isn't just revenge anymore. It's a goddamn symphony. And we're about to hit the crescendo. Amanda didn't hesitate. She sat across from me in that quiet cafe, sipped her tea like a woman discussing centerpieces, not betrayal, and said the words that flipped the game. Tell me everything. I want to help destroy him. And she meant it. No tears. No theatrics. Just cold fury. Something inside her had snapped, and what remained wasn't a victim. It was a viper. We met again the next day in Damien's penthouse. She walked in like she owned the place, cool and composed, with a baby forming beneath her dress and fire behind her eyes. Damien looked her over once, then nodded. She's in, I said. He arched a brow. Are you sure she can handle this? Amanda didn't wait for me to defend her. I spent 3 years believing in a man who fed me lies and manipulated my family to climb the corporate ladder. I'm done being a pawn. She stepped closer. I want to be the one who knocks him off the board. Damien smiled. Then let's draw blood. The plan: expose Chris's double life and financial crimes in a single, cinematic strike. The weapon? Amanda. She had access to his emails. She'd seen his bank transfers. She knew where the skeletons were buried because she helped him build the damn closet. She handed Damien everything: digital contracts, bank statements, confidential merger proposals that Chris had funneled into a dummy account. We compiled it all into a dossier so damning it could tank not just Chris but Polaris Holdings itself. But that wasn't the real move.
No.
The real move was personal. The three of us spent the next 48 hours laying the trap. Amanda crafted a handwritten letter, sealed it in an envelope scented with her perfume.
Chris.
I forgive you. Let's talk. Come to the place where we first said, I love you. I'll be waiting. Amanda. It was classic Amanda, soft, manipulative, poetic. It reeked of hope. And we all knew Chris couldn't resist a chance to crawl back into her good graces. The location? A boutique hotel in Tribeca. Room 702.
Candlelit.
Red wine chilling. The illusion of reconciliation. But what Chris didn't know was that Damien had installed hidden cameras and microphones across the suite. And behind the adjoining room's double mirror?
Me.
Chris arrived 10 minutes late, wearing the same blue shirt he wore on their second anniversary, Amanda's favorite. His hair was styled, but his eyes looked hollow. Desperate. Hey, he said breathlessly, stepping into the room. I'm so glad you called. Amanda stood by the window, calm, radiant, unreadable. I wasn't sure you'd come. Of course I came, he said, moving closer. I've been losing my mind without you. You've been lying to me for 3 years, she said softly. Chris's face fell. I didn't mean to. Don't, she cut in. Just sit.
He obeyed.
What do you want from me, Amanda? He whispered. I want the truth. I've told you the truth. The whole truth. Chris hesitated. I love you. I chose you. Naomi was a mistake. I clenched my fists behind the mirror. Amanda didn't blink. She's been in your life for 7 years. That's not a mistake. That's a second life. Chris's mask cracked. Okay, fine. Yes, I lied. I loved her. Maybe I still do. But she's weak. You are the real thing. I laughed bitterly in the next room. Weak? Amanda leaned forward. Tell me about the accounts. The Polaris merger. The insider trades. Chris paled. What? I've seen the emails. The transfers.
You used me.
My family. Amanda, don't do this. Tell me. He ran a hand through his hair. I did it for us.
I swear.
I needed leverage, just until I had enough to give us the life we deserved. Amanda's voice sharpened. By betraying everyone who trusted you? By winning, he spat. This is how the world works. Everyone plays dirty. I just played smarter. I pressed the earpiece. We got it all. Damien's voice came through. Every word. Amanda stood slowly. This is the last time you'll ever lie to me. Chris shot up, panicked. What are you talking about? She walked to the door. We're done. Chris followed, grabbing her arm. You can't do this. You're pregnant. She yanked her hand free. And I'll raise our child to never become you. Then she walked out, leaving him alone, screaming her name. The footage was uploaded to a hidden drive. Sent to key Polaris board members. Sent to Amanda's father. Sent to one anonymous tip line. And leaked to one very hungry journalist. The news broke within 24 hours. Tech executive Christopher Sterling under fire for insider trading, financial misconduct. Sources allege he used romantic ties to access confidential data. Double life and corporate lies. The man behind the mask. By noon, Polaris released a statement distancing themselves from him. By evening, he was suspended indefinitely. By nightfall, his name was everywhere for all the wrong reasons. And me? I stood on Damien's balcony, sipping champagne, watching Chris's empire crumble. That night, he showed up at my apartment. Bloodied. Beaten. Broken. The first thing I noticed were his hands scabbed. Like he'd punched a wall. Or someone. The second? His eyes. They weren't desperate this time. They were wild. He stumbled inside. You did this. I tilted my head. Did what? He snarled. Don't play dumb. Amanda. The emails. The footage. It was you. I smiled slowly. Prove it. He lunged. I didn't flinch. I gave you everything, he shouted. I gave you love, time, years. You gave me leftovers. You ruined me. No, I said coldly. You did that all by yourself. I just made sure the world saw it. He backed up, shaking. I'll fix this. I'll fix it all. You can't fix a corpse, Chris. His mouth twisted. I hope you rot. I stepped closer, unbothered. You call me your side chick, I whispered. Now look around. Whose side do you think you're on now? He left, slamming the door so hard it cracked the frame. I stood in the silence. Let it settle. Let it breathe. Then I picked up the phone. He took the bait. I told Damien. What now? He asked. I turned to the mirror. Now I was the one wearing the crown.
Now,
I said. We go for the kill. I thought I was the queen on this chessboard. Turns out, I might just be the next pawn to fall. Chris was bleeding professionally, financially, socially. Everything we planned was working. And yet, something didn't feel right. It wasn't the guilt I'd buried that weeks ago. It wasn't Amanda. She'd gone radio silent, retreating into the shadows, texting me cryptic updates like, let him rot. No, it was Damien. Because now that Chris had been publicly crucified, Damien was smiling a little too hard, moving a little too fast, controlling the narrative like he'd been born for it. And I was starting to wonder, what if I wasn't just his weapon? What if I was the next target? It started with a name I didn't recognize. A week after the fallout, I found Damien's briefcase on the kitchen counter while he was in the shower. It was slightly ajar. I shouldn't have looked. But curiosity isn't just a sin, it's a survival instinct. Inside were files.
dozens of them.
Dossiers on executives, attorneys, shareholders. Photos.
Notes. Names.
And one jumped out at me. Charles Whitmore, former CEO, Polaris Holdings, deceased. I frowned. Deceased? There were post-it notes stuck to the file. Confirmed manipulation. Proxy vote flipped. Suicide, 2 months after hostile takeover attempt. I scanned the notes, heart thudding. Why did Damien have this? What did any of this have to do with Chris? And then I saw it, tucked inside the folder, half hidden beneath a document marked confidential. A photo.
Chris.
Shaking hands with Charles Whitmore. Smiling. And behind them, in the shadows, Damien. I confronted him that night. What's your connection to Whitmore? Damien didn't flinch. Didn't blink. He dried his hands on a towel and leaned against the counter like I'd just asked about the weather. He was a casualty. Of what? He met my gaze. Of Polaris. I thought Chris was your only target. No, Damien said calmly. Chris was the gateway. The little fish. To what? Damien walked over, slow, deliberate. To the boardroom. To the company. To the empire. You think I did all this because of your heartbreak? I said nothing. I don't tear men down for cheating, Naomi. I destroy dynasties. He paused. And you helped. I backed away. So this wasn't about justice. Or closure. Or even revenge. No, he said. This was business. My throat tightened. You used me. I guided you. You think you didn't want this?
He scoffed.
You wanted blood. I gave you the knife. You made me a weapon. I made you a queen, he cut in. And you're mad because the kingdom is mine? I stared at him. Suddenly, I couldn't tell if I wanted to slap him or fall into his arms. Because even now, even after all the manipulation, his eyes still made my pulse stutter. That was the most dangerous part. He wasn't a monster. He was a mirror. I left that night. Told him I needed air.
Space.
A pause. He didn't follow. He just said, You know where to find me. Which only pissed me off more. I called Amanda. Told her everything. She wasn't surprised. I knew Damien was shady, she said. But I thought he just wanted revenge. He's been targeting Polaris for years, Amanda. Chris was just his foot in the door. So what now? I don't know. I whispered. But I'm done being someone else's pawn. She was silent for a moment. Then let's take both of them down. It should have made me feel better. Stronger. But the truth? I wasn't sure I could let Damien go. He saw me, the raw, ruthless version. He didn't flinch. He liked her. And a part of me liked being that woman. Was that twisted?
Yes.
Was it true? Absolutely. The next day, I went to his penthouse. He opened the door, leaned against the frame. Shirt unbuttoned. Sleeves rolled up. Eyes sharp. I thought you left, he said. I did. And now? I want answers. He let me in. I walked past him, straight to the bar, poured myself a drink, turned to face him. Tell me everything. The truth. No chess moves. No masks. He poured a drink too. Saturday. I grew up poor, he began. My father worked for Polaris. 30 years. Loyal. Hardworking. Disposable. What happened? They fired him. One board vote. No severance. No pension. He drank himself to death within a year. I swallowed. I'm sorry. Damien shrugged. I'm not. It made me who I am. He looked up, fire in his eyes. I swore I'd take them down. Not just Polaris. All of them. These corporations built on lies, corruption, privilege. Chris was the first thread. I pulled it. And I was just convenient.
He stared at me.
You were lightning in a bottle. And I needed a storm. My breath caught. But, he added, voice lowering, you were never disposable. I laughed, bitter.
Right.
That's why you hid everything from me. Because I knew you'd run. And if you ran before the finale, none of this would work. I walked to the window. What now, Damien? He came up behind me. Now we finish what we started. I turned. And then? He leaned in, whispered. Then we see who's still standing. I left without another word. And when I got home, Chris was waiting on my doorstep.
A mess.
Naomi, he said, his voice cracked. I need you. I stared at him. And for the first time, I smiled. Because now, both of them thought they could still win me. But I wasn't the weapon anymore. I was the war. I used to be his secret. Now I'm everyone's wild card. Chris wants redemption. Damien wants control. And me? I want them both to choke on the lies they fed me. Because I finally understand something. Revenge isn't about the pain. It's about the reveal.
And tonight?
I'm pulling back the curtain. Chris showing up on my doorstep that night was poetic. He looked like hell. Bloodshot eyes, shirt wrinkled, fingers trembling. A ghost of the polished man I'd once loved. I've lost everything, he said. The company, Amanda, my reputation. I leaned against the doorframe. You forgot your dignity. He flinched. I don't know who to trust, he whispered. You were the only person who ever really saw me. That was rich. You mean the only one who didn't know you were a liar yet? He stepped forward. Let me make it right. You can't. Then let me try. I stared at him. Silent. Calculating. Then I said,
Fine.
One chance. The trap began with a meeting. I told Chris I wanted to help him rebuild. That I had intel on Damien. On the leaks. On everything that had gone wrong. We meet tomorrow night, I told him. Just us. No games. He agreed too quickly. Because when you strip a narcissist of his audience, he'll do anything to get the stage back. Next, I met Damien. Told him Chris was begging for my help. That he wanted to strike back. That I could get him to talk, to confess more. I didn't tell him it was a setup. Not yet. Because Damien thought he was the puppet master. And I wanted him to feel the strings tighten slowly. The hotel room was neutral ground. Room 909. Floor-to-ceiling windows. 2 hidden cameras, one behind the curtain, the other embedded in a picture frame. Amanda had helped install both. The mic was tucked into my purse. I wore red, a color Chris always associated with sex, with submission, with me on his terms. Tonight, it would mean war. He walked in, cautious but hopeful. You look beautiful, he said. Save it. We sat. I poured him whiskey, just one glass. Mine remained untouched. He leaned forward. Tell me what you know about Damien. I gave him breadcrumbs, pieces of truth wrapped in sugar. That Damien had taken down his old CEO. That he'd used me to gain access. That he was gunning for full acquisition of Polaris. Chris's mouth twisted. So, he used both of us. I met his eyes. I used you. He blinked. You think I was some helpless side chick? I knew what I was doing. Every time I kissed you, I was learning your patterns. Every "I love you" you whispered, I was filing away for later. He went pale. Naomi, you thought you were the king.
I leaned in.
You were just a pawn. A dirty, broken pawn. His hand trembled. Why are you telling me this? Because I want you to know exactly who took you down. And right on cue, Damien walked in. Chris jumped to his feet. What the hell is he doing here? Damien shut the door calmly.
Relax.
I'm just here to watch the end.
Chris turned to me.
This was a setup? Of course it was, I said. Did you really think I'd ever pick you? Chris lunged, but Damien stepped between us. Careful, Damien warned. She's not yours to threaten anymore. Chris scoffed. You think she's yours? Damien's smirk could have sliced glass.
No.
I know she's smarter than both of us combined. And that's when Chris snapped. You were never supposed to matter, he screamed, spinning toward me. You were a placeholder. A toy. I lied to Amanda, and to you because I could. You let me. You loved it. I didn't move. I let him rant. You think I cared about you, he seethed. You were a distraction. I had a real life. A real future. With a woman you cheated on throughout her entire pregnancy? I asked coldly. His mouth hung open. You think she didn't tell me? I tilted my head. She gave me every receipt. Every ultrasound you missed while you were with me. Every excuse you made. His voice cracked. She was never supposed to know. Well, I smiled. She knows everything. Damien turned to me, eyes gleaming. We done here? I nodded. Chris lunged again, this time at Damien. They scuffled. Furniture tipped. A vase shattered. I didn't interfere. I picked up my purse, checked the mic feed, and pressed send. The audio uploaded instantly, to the journalist we'd prepped days ago. The headline was already written. Fallen CEO caught confessing to emotional manipulation and insider collusion. Full audio inside. Checkmate. 10 minutes later, security dragged Chris out of the hotel, screaming my name like it still held power. It didn't. Not anymore. I stayed behind. Damien turned to me, brushing blood from his lip. That was satisfying. I didn't smile. What now? I asked. He stepped closer. Now you come with me. I raised a brow. And do what? Join your little empire? He shrugged. You're more than a weapon now, Naomi. You're a queen. And every king needs one. I stepped even closer. You lied to me. Used me. So did he. But I never pretended it was love. Is that what this is? I asked. Not love. Damien didn't answer. He kissed me instead. Hard. Brutal.
Real.
And for one blinding second, I couldn't tell where the war ended and we began. When I left that night, I didn't say goodbye. I had one more move to make. Amanda was waiting for me in her car, hands folded over her stomach. Well, she asked. I showed her the article. The audio. The rage in Chris's voice. The moment it all fell apart. She smiled. Good. You okay? I will be. And so will the baby. I reached for her hand. We're free now. She squeezed it. Are we? I didn't answer. Because somewhere, deep down, I wasn't sure I was. I was a secret. A side chick. A weapon. But now, I'm the last woman standing. Chris Sterling's empire has crumbled. His secrets have been bled out into the world. And while he screams for someone to save him, all I hear is silence. But here's the truth no one tells you about revenge. Once the smoke clears, you're left with two things. The ruins.
And a choice.
The morning after the trap, I woke to a dozen missed calls. All from Damien. I didn't answer. Not because I was scared, but because I needed to think. He'd offered me the world the night before. His empire, his power, his cold, relentless loyalty. No illusions of love, no tender promises. Just you and me, Naomi. We take the whole damn board. It should have thrilled me. Instead, it made my bones ache. Amanda called around noon.
He's gone into hiding, she said.
Chris.
Yes.
Some PR crisis team stashed him in the Hamptons to keep the press away. But it's too late. He's already lost 2 major investors. Polaris stock is tanking. I nodded. Good. His parents disowned him. Even better. And she added, he tried to reach me. I stiffened. What did he say? She laughed bitterly. That he was tricked. That I'd been poisoned by you. I rolled my eyes. Of course. Amanda's voice shifted. But he also said something else. What? That he still wants to be part of the baby's life. Silence. I sat down slowly. And what do you want? She didn't hesitate. I want him to suffer. That night, I returned to Damien. His penthouse was spotless as always. Cold steel. Soft jazz. Whiskey in cut-glass tumblers. He opened the door, looked me over, and smiled. You came. I haven't decided anything yet, I said. He stepped aside. Then let's talk. We sat across from each other. No games, no alcohol, no dim lighting. Just the storm between us. I don't want to be your pawn, I said. You're not. I don't want to be your partner either. Not like this. He tilted his head. Then what do you want, Naomi? I looked him dead in the eye. I want control. He grinned. Then take it. I paused. I want full access to the Polaris data you extracted. I want my name on the holding company you're building from its ashes. And I want Chris to never rise again. You'd get all of that with me. I nodded slowly. Good. But I also want Amanda cut out of the operation, I said. She has the baby to think about. She doesn't belong in this anymore. Damien leaned back, studying me. You're protecting her. I'm protecting myself from becoming you. He chuckled. Too late. But he agreed. The next week was silent. Strategic. Chris's assets were frozen. Polaris's board fractured. And Damien, the vulture in a 3-piece suit, moved in for the kill. He made me his partner, on paper. Shared everything. Gave me a new name, a new account, a new identity for the woman I'd become. Naomi Sharp. That's what the documents said. I never signed them, because the deeper I went, the more I realized Damien was never going to stop. And I would never truly own anything by his side. Just rent power in a house he built. So, I made my final choice. I went to Amanda. I'm out, I told her. But I'm taking something with me. What? Leverage. I gave her everything Damien had shown me, contracts, offshore accounts, shell companies. Why? Because you're the only one who hasn't betrayed someone yet. And because your baby deserves better than this blood-stained circus. Amanda's eyes filled with tears. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. The next day, I walked into Damien's office and placed a folder on his desk. What's this? He asked. My resignation. He stood. Don't be dramatic. I'm done. He laughed coldly. You think you can just leave? I smiled. Already did. You'll regret this. No, I said, turning to walk away. But you might. He didn't follow me. Not this time. 2 weeks later, Amanda launched a nonprofit, Sterling Second Chances, a foundation for women navigating high-profile emotional abuse cases. She used the money from a settlement she negotiated with Polaris Board to get them to back off the baby's paternity drama. Chris never recovered. And Damien? He went darker. Deeper. Quieter. His name still circles the finance world like a phantom. But me? I'm gone. I live in Rome now. Work in fashion. Simple. Quiet. Sometimes cold. But mine. Every once in a while, I see someone who looks like Damien across the street or at a cafe. Or I'll hear someone shout Chris in a crowd, and my throat will close. But then I remember. I wasn't his side chick. I wasn't his casualty. I was the storm that ended them both. He called me a side chick. Now I own every part of the life he tried to build without me. I burned their world down. But closure? Closure comes dressed in white, with a fake smile and a diamond ring. And today, it's walking down the aisle. 6 months passed. Quiet ones. No headlines. No scandals. No Damien. Polaris officially collapsed. The board blamed Chris. Chris blamed the media. Damien was nowhere to be found. Amanda's nonprofit gained traction. Her baby, a girl, was born screaming and strong. And me? I lived in exile. Not to hide, but to watch. You learn more in silence than in war. That's how I saw the invitation before anyone else. Christopher Sterling is set to marry Geneva Rothschild, daughter of a European investor. A new woman. A new legacy. A final attempt to rewrite his name. My blood boiled, but I didn't scream. I didn't throw things. Instead, I smiled. Because some weddings don't need blessings. They need bombs. I texted Amanda. Naomi, he's getting married. Amanda, you going? Naomi, I already have a dress. Damien found me a week later. He appeared like a shadow slipping under the door. Uninvited, unapologetic, and still handsome enough to punch. You saw the announcement, he said without preamble. I did. And I'm going. To watch. I smiled. To finish. He studied me. You sure you can handle this? I'm not the same girl you met, Damien. No, he said, lips curving. You're worse. And I like it. The day of the wedding. The venue was a garden estate in Connecticut. Roses everywhere. Live violinists. Wealthy nobodies sipping vintage champagne and pretending to care about vows that would rot within a year. I wore black. Because no one expects a funeral at a wedding. Amanda arrived late. Baby with a nanny, hair in a tight bun, lips red as blood. We didn't hug. We didn't need to. This wasn't about reunions. This was about closure. At precisely 3:15 p.m., the ceremony began. Chris stood at the altar, polished, restored, fake. Geneva walked down the aisle in a Vera Wang dress worth more than my first apartment. The officiant began. I gave Amanda a nod. She slipped out first, heading to the AV booth. Then I stood. Loudly. All heads turned. Chris froze. Geneva's face twisted into confusion. I walked slowly down the aisle, the click of my heels echoing like gunshots. Halfway to the altar, I stopped and lifted my hand. Behind me, the projector screen, meant to display photos of the happy couple, lit up. Exhibit A. Emails between Chris Sterling and Naomi Carter. The gasp started immediately. Then the audio. You were never supposed to matter. You were a placeholder. I had a real life. Geneva turned toward Chris. What the hell is this? I walked past them, up to the altar, calm as ice. Oh, we're just getting started. Slide after slide, message after message, betrayal after betrayal. Photos. Receipts. Time-stamped heartbreak turned into proof of predation. The officiant had vanished. Guests stood frozen in shock.
Chris tried to speak.
I raised a hand. Don't. Then I turned to Geneva. You deserve better. He will ruin you, the same way he ruined Amanda. The same way he tried to ruin me. Geneva's eyes filled with tears. She stepped back from the altar, pulled off her veil, slapped Chris hard, and walked away. Outside, Amanda waited. I thought I'd feel better, she said. I nodded. But it's hollow, isn't it? A little. We stood in silence as sirens began in the distance. Someone had called security. Someone had called the press. Chris was finished. Truly.
Publicly.
Amanda touched her stomach. Did I do the right thing? You protected your daughter. She looked at me. And you? I smiled faintly. I reminded him what a side chick can do. Later that night, I stood alone in a hotel room, watching the chaos unfold on the news. Damien called. You're everywhere, he said. Good. You could have let him rot quietly. No, I said. I needed the world to watch. He paused. You still want a piece of what's next? I considered it. I think I want peace more. He exhaled. You're not built for peace, Naomi. Maybe not, I whispered. But I earned the right to try. I turned off my phone, looked in the mirror. No tears. No regrets. Just me. The girl who started as a secret and ended as a storm.
Chris was gone.
Damien was a ghost. Amanda had a child and a future. And me? I had the last word. Damien's voice, faint in the voicemail. This isn't over, Naomi. You can't walk away from power once you've tasted it. And if you try, I'll come find you. I was his secret, his shame, his side chick.
But now?
I am no one's. Not Chris's. Not Damien's. Not even the version of myself that kept waiting for a love that never came. This is my ending. But not the one they expected. The wedding scandal tore through headlines for weeks. Billionaire groom exposed at the altar. Audio leaks show groom's 7-year affair. Bride walks out as mistress hijacks wedding ceremony. It went viral. Clips of me walking down that aisle in black, dragging his secrets behind me like a veil, played on talk shows, TikToks, podcasts. Some people called me a hero. Others called me a villain. But none of them knew the truth. I didn't do it to be remembered. I did it so he would never forget. Chris fled the country within days. Last I heard, he was in some anonymous villa in Portugal, burning through what little money hadn't been frozen or claimed. Geneva called off the marriage and revoked all Rothschild funding from Polaris Holdings. Her family scrubbed Chris from their lives like a stain they regretted ever inviting in.
Amanda?
She blossomed. Her nonprofit exploded in reach after the wedding fiasco. She was being interviewed, featured, called a symbol of modern female resilience. She never took full credit, but she always said, I couldn't have done it without Naomi. That mattered more than I ever thought it would.
And Damien?
He vanished. No trace. The holding company he was building collapsed 2 weeks after the wedding, once Amanda leaked his offshore documents anonymously. The finance world whispered about him like he was a ghost. Some say he moved to Hong Kong. Others think he's building a new empire under a different name. He never called again. Except once. It was midnight in Rome. The city was alive outside my balcony, motorcycles, soft jazz, laughter rising from trattorias. I was barefoot in a silk robe, wine glass in hand, my laptop open to a blank page. And then my phone buzzed. Blocked number. I answered. I didn't speak. Neither did he, not for a full 5 seconds. Then, finally, you walked away. I exhaled. So did you. You could have had everything. No, I said. I could have had your everything. You think you're free of this? I know I am. He laughed, low and dangerous. You tasted blood, Naomi. Women like you don't forget the flavor. Silence. Then I said, neither do men like you when they finally bleed. And I hung up. I never heard from Damien again. But I never stopped looking over my shoulder either. Some part of me knows he's still out there, watching, waiting, maybe even planning. Let him. Because I've already won.
Now?
I write. Not about them. Not directly. But women find their way into my novels. Sharp women, wounded women, women who've been called too much or not enough. Women who bury the men who underestimated them. And my books sell. Quietly.
Steadily.
It's enough. Sometimes I catch myself touching the scar near my hip, a tiny line from a night long ago when Chris lost his temper. Sometimes I wake up reaching for a man who doesn't exist, one who could love me and be loyal, passionate, and gentle. But mostly I sleep like the dead. Because revenge doesn't heal you, but it sure as hell clears the noise. I saw Amanda last month. She came to Rome, baby in tow, sunglasses too big, smile too real. We drank wine by the water and laughed until we cried. She looks like him, Amanda said, holding her daughter. I nodded. But she's going to grow up nothing like him. Amanda turned to me. And what about you? I'm not growing anymore, I said with a shrug. I'm just living. She raised her glass. To side chicks. I smirked. to Queens. I walked the streets of Rome alone that night. No rings on my fingers. No names on my heart. No leash around my throat. The air was warm. My heels echoed off the cobblestone, steady and sharp. And as I passed a dark alley, a shadow shifted. I didn't flinch. If it was Damien,
He'd learned by now.
I don't run. Not anymore.
He said I was just his side chick.
Now I own the silence that follows his ruin. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and comment your thoughts below. Would you choose love or loyalty? And don't forget to subscribe for more true secrets every day.